Welcome to the Two Turtle Tom Show. Tonight, we're going to talk with Tony Monahan, and Tony is the author of an upcoming book that's all about turtles and tortoises and where you can see them on display in the United States. Welcome, Tony, and could you tell us what the inspiration for your book was? Why write a book about where to see turtles?
Well, I think it all started when I was asked by my department chair to teach a course called stress management. And I was very excited to do that, but I didn't know much about stress management. So I started studying up on it and I started teaching the course. And after teaching it for a little while, I kind of boiled it down to stress management is doing the stuff that you really like to do, the healthy things.
Ah,
So I ended up buying a camera and I bought a camera just to take photos of turtles. Now, because that's what I wanted to do, and all my artwork is turtle oriented and so forth. So, if I go to a wedding, I'll use my phone. If I go to anywhere else, I'll use my phone. But for turtles, I have a nice camera.
That's dedication right there.
So,
I love that.
so I started to travel. I started to think, okay, where can I see some turtles? I saw the ones that are near me, and I had this crazy idea that I'd be going out in the wild at the Okefenokee in a canoe or something. And I realized that that wasn't very practical. Plus, might not see much. So I started to look up, places like zoos and aquariums with turtles. And I started to take a couple of trips. Um, I was also doing overseas work. I was teaching for a college that sent me to different countries for 2 weeks at a time. So I was going to the zoo in Thailand and the zoo in China and the zoo in Trinidad and Costa Rica and so forth. And I loved it. And then COVID hit, so I was the last assignment overseas. I was in China in December of 2019. I came back on New Year's Day 2020,
Just
just ahead of
wow.
the pandemic. And they haven't sent anybody overseas since. So I was on the last assignment overseas. Everything else is now online. So I started to travel just in the US, and I came up with this idea because I'd be at these zoos and aquariums and I would see kids turn around the corner and say, "Oh, turtles." And, they don't do that for many other things. They don't say zebras or what. I noticed that turtles were a little special with people. So I started to think, we really need some kind of like a guidebook to show where the places are and who has what. So I came up with the idea on February 13th of 2020. I took my first trip to Alabama for the Turtle Lovers Guidebook. And since then, I've taken 76 trips, visited 213 locations, almost 137,000 miles.
What are some of the turtles that stick into your memory?
Yeah.
Well, the Chitra indicas and the Chitra. I just went to St. Louis Zoo for the third time because they have those beautiful Chitras. And I think there's only two places that has them, Columbus and St. Louis. San Diego has the Chitra indicas, and they had them for 20 years before they finally hatched out 41 babies. And I was fortunate enough to get backroom access to see the babies, to visit the babies. Got some shots of that, so that was a thrill. I had to learn a lot. What was what? I still have a hard time with identification. A lot of the snake necks kind of look alike to me.
Yeah.
The mud turtles and so forth. So I'm always posting things, looking for just double checking stuff. I want to. That's one of my challenges is proper identification.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So, but I've seen a lot of things, and there's a couple things I showed you that flat back at the zoo Knoxville. I've never seen one of those before, although I saw some at the Reptile Expo
Wow.
last weekend. But as far as it's for me, it's more about places,
Yeah.
you know. So I just mentioned Zoo Knoxville. That place is absolutely amazing. They've got plowshares.
Wow.
So and so does Oklahoma City Zoo, but they're not on display. So unfortunately,
Is Knoxville the only place you can see plowshares in the U.S.?
Knoxville
Teeth.
and Honolulu Zoo in Hawaii.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
If you go to Baylor Center in California, they have plowshares as well. But that's not a public place. You have to have an invitation to go there.
What do you
So
think it is about turtles that people like?
they're the coolest animal in the world, you know. And the
Absolutely.
thing that a lot of people don't realize about turtles is they're brightly colored. A lot of them are brightly colored. Is like some people say, "Oh, I thought they were just brown, or I thought they were just green." And they have a shell, that's amazing. And I like the colors. I like the fact that they're fairly peaceful animals. You know,
Yeah.
they're going to harm you unless you mess with them, like snapping turtles or something. They're not coming after you.
I
They're
think that
just very, very peaceful animals.
Mhm.
uh, they've never hunted humans.
Correct. Yeah.
They're not intimidating.
Yeah. Well, it's
But
not.
I got some news about my book,
Okay.
and this will be the first time I mention this in public.
Wow.
We're going to be publishing this with Living Art Publications with Russ Gurley. So
Nice.
we will be publishing it. I'm getting him the information next month, and we're going to have this done for 2024.
Wow. That's amazing. In time for Christmas or maybe just a little bit after?
Well, we'll see how fast we can
Yeah.
get the information.
Yeah.
The
Oh,
site pages, we're trying to work out the site pages. If I have 100, I have right now currently 158 sites. I got one
so
more site.
You've worked so hard. Don't rush it at the end. You know.
No, everything's done.
I know. Tom's a little pushy, but we can be patient.
I got one more site. It's Odyssey Aquarium in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Oh yeah, I thought.
They have a new Turtles of the World exhibit. So I
Of
got
course,
my
you do that right when you finish.
my tickets to the TTPG.
Good.
So we're going to arrive on the Wednesday. I've got a rental car for that day. We're going to go down to up to Scottsdale, do the site, bring the rental car back, take the train back to the hotel for the TTPG. So that's going to be that's it. There's no other place that I can find. So that's 159 sites. I might cut it down a little bit. Some sites will be hopefully just a one-page site page, and most will be 2 pages. Like something like Iguanaland will be several pages because
Knoxville.
each site page has a listing of turtles spotted at that particular place. So
very cool. How do you organize so much information and bring it together in one place and summarize it all?
well, my work as a educator and a college professor helped me out a lot with that. I'm pretty
Yeah.
good with summarizing things. I've done a lot of educational publications and book chapters and things like that. So I'm used to taking information and synthesizing it down so that college freshmen can understand it and things like that. That's actually the fun part of this is getting the information and making something of it. It's the gathering and the gathering and the gathering. When I go to a site, I take a lot of photos, and then I have to go through all my photos and separate the best ofs from the rest. And then there's a best of the best of. So I might any best of could be a real crisp, clean shot. But I could have 20 shots of the same turtle that are in the best of, but only one of those shots get in the book. So you have to pick the best of the best. So that takes a while. I try to do that on the plane. I do it as soon as I can, and then I write the site page, which is just the basic information about the site, mission statement, a description, and turtles listed, turtles spotted. So, and then I gather if the turtle has a name, if the turtle has a story, that information will all go in the photo captions. So the creative part is going to be in the photo captions. So the photo captions will kind of tell a little story, and the rest of the pages will just be basic information. My site description is probably around 60 to 80 words. That's it.
Mhm.
And I like
Oh,
doing
that's
that.
awesome.
That's fun. That's the fun part.
Yeah.
Do
So I do
you
it as I go.
Yeah. Did you get insider access to these places, or do you go as a visitor?
Both, both. As I've gone through this project and people start to know who I am, I'm getting more and more insider access. Um, for example, I have a rule called the Steinhardt rule, and that's named after the Steinhardt Aquarium in San Francisco, which is a fabulous place. But they only have 5 species of turtles. So the Steinhardt rule is 5 species or more. So I went to the Georgia Aquarium, which is an amazing aquarium. It's huge.
Whale
And
sharks?
yeah, yeah, fabulous.
Impossible.
And I only saw three species of turtle. So I
Interesting.
wrote them an email and I said, I love your aquarium. It's a fabulous place, and I really love to include it in the Turtle Lovers Guidebook. But I only saw 3 species. If you have any more, please let me know. And sure enough, they had more, and they got me a free ticket. And I went back down there. They
Nice.
gave me the whole tour, and they showed me some other turtles that they had, and in classrooms upstairs and ambassador animals and so forth.
So a follow up to Tom's question, and to impart what you had mentioned earlier about some behind the scenes stuff. How often are you seeing in different facilities or zoos that they have animals behind the scenes that aren't necessarily on display, but they're working with?
Yeah, most zoos have animals behind the scenes. Um, you can watch that show, the zoo show that covers the Bronx Zoo, and they'll show
Yeah.
you all kinds of stuff. And then when you go to the Bronx Zoo, you don't see any of that stuff. They got a whole extra building just for that stuff.
See, that's good to know because I like that show. But had I not known, I would have shown up there and not seen anything.
Right, right. They rescued a whole bunch of bog turtles, and you're not going to see them on display. But
That's a
but
shame.
they have over 40 species of turtle, and it's an amazing zoo to go to. Anyway, I highly recommend the Bronx Zoo. Yeah,
What are
and
some
go ahead. Some of the places that I go for that's going to take me, it'll be hard to get back to. Like the California sites in Hawaii. Then I'll send an email just to let them know that I'm coming. And sometimes they'll take me in the back and show me all the stuff. A problem I've had to fight with is, dirty glass.
Mhm.
It's hard to take a good shot if you got a bunch of crud on the inside of a glass. And they might have the greatest turtles in the world, but if you can't see them or you can't focus on them with your camera,
Now you got me sitting there thinking how my glass was when you were here, and
You got to
you're
go
welcome.
early, Tony. I used to work at SeaWorld when
Really?
there was a SeaWorld in Ohio, and yeah, occasionally my job would be to wipe down the glass in the aquarium with vinegar because it was acrylic. And,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the trick. What are the gems out there that we might not have heard of?
Well, The Kansas has a fabulous zoo called the Sedgwick Zoo, and they have 25 or so species of turtle. That's a great zoo. They have a lot of good stuff there. I've never heard about that. So I took a trip down to Kansas, and they told me about another zoo called the Emporia Zoo, or the um, David Trailer Zoo of Emporia. They call the Emporia Zoo. They said, "Oh, you should go to the Emporia Zoo. It's halfway between Wichita and Kansas City." And I was heading back to Kansas City anyway. So I stopped at this little zoo, and it's one of the smallest zoos in the world, in the country. And that was great. I loved it. And then I started to think, okay, well, what is the smallest zoo? So I did a Google search and found the Charles Haddock Zoo of Atascadero, California, in San Luis Obispo County, at only 5 acres. This zoo is an amazing turtle zoo. These guys have had an affiliation with the San Francisco airport, so they got all the confiscations when they caught the smugglers and stuff. He's got all kinds of stuff. And
Deal.
Alan Baker, who was the director, came in on Easter Sunday, gave us the grand tour. He had a big old tortoise belt buckle, so he was a turtle guy, and he was so excited to show us all the turtles. He had an Arakan forest turtle. He had some European pond turtles that were rescued from Bosnia by a Canadian service member when they were destroyed their habitat to make a heliport for the helicopters. And this one serviceman saved the turtles and brought them to Atascadero. They have lots of different hingeback turtles and tortoises and 30 over 34 species of turtle at the smallest zoo in the country.
Wow. Are they sponsored by ZooMed? ZooMed's right there, I think.
Yeah.
Another thing they did is they, when the Atascadero Lake dried up a few years back, they went out and grabbed all the turtles and housed them for 3 years until the lake filled up again.
Wow. Those are Western pond turtles, probably?
Pond turtles, yeah.
Wow.
So that was a very cool place to go to. You probably never heard of that.
Definitely not.
Do you by chance know how they did when they were re-released?
Excuse me?
Do you by chance know how they did when they were re-released?
Well,
That's really
I
interesting.
think they're fine.
That's really cool.
They had to separate the red ears, but so they re-released them, and they also had a hand in saving the turtles and tortoises at the Baylor Center when they had wildfires. So they were helped bring all the turtles and tortoises to the Atascadero Town Hall, and they put them in the basement of the town hall, and they sheltered them while there was a danger of fire going through the hills of Ojai. Fortunately, the fire didn't reach it, but they're all hands on deck there. So that little zoo is one of my favorites, for sure.
And what is it called again, Tony?
The Charles Paddock Zoo.
Charles
of
Paddock Zoo.
Atascadero, California. Yeah.
Atascadero. Wow.
And it's a county zoo. So Cape May County Zoo in New Jersey has 27 species of turtle. And that's a free zoo. You can go there for free.
Really?
Cape May. It's a popular spot for birders, I know, to go to Cape May and see all the migrating birds.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Wouldn't know. And
Gladys Ford in Texas, down in Brownsville, Texas.
Yeah.
Is a great
You're
one.
from the New York area, right, Tony?
I'm from Rhode Island.
Rhode Island. Ah, okay. My wife's family has some history there. Fall River, Mass, like right across the.
Right.
That's fun. I've never been to Rhode Island, but.
Well, let me tell you, Tom.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, Tom, when I visited you at the Cleveland Botanical Gardens. Tell you what happened right after I left you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was driving west. I was heading towards Toledo. I was going to go to Toledo Zoo the next day.
Yeah.
And I was on the highway and I saw a sign just out of the corner of my eye. It said Greater Cleveland Aquarium. I was like,
Oh
what?
yeah.
So I pulled off the highway and I looked it up on my phone and I found this Greater Cleveland Aquarium. I'm driving around. I couldn't find it
Yeah.
because all I saw was factory buildings. And
Yep.
it
Yep.
turns out I stopped this guy. I pulled into this drive and this guy came over. I said, you know where the aquarium is? He's like, oh, yeah, this is the aquarium right here, an old factory building. And they had like 14 or 15 species of turtle there. And I was really excited to go there, and I got some good shots there.
Cool.
And on my way out, I talked to the parking lot guy again. He said, did you have a good time? I said, yeah, I saw some great turtles. He said, if you really want to see some turtles, you got to go to Herps Alive. I was like, Herps Alive? Where's
Oh
that?
yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
So it's a
You've been holding on, Tom.
Cleveland reptile rescue place, a turtle rescue place. So I zigzagged my way over there and got there before they closed. And that guy was a nice guy, and I spent some time there. And that
Keith.
place is amazing. Yeah.
Sean McZoo, who's in the chat, McZoo Exotic Pets, he has adopted many turtles from Herps Alive. It's an amazing rescue, and now they are really working all over the Midwest. They just had people from a rescue from Maine travel to Herps Alive to drop off a bunch of turtles that are restricted species in Maine. So yeah, it's an amazing place. And yeah,
Yeah.
and I forget how wide of a net you're casting, and no pun intended. No, we're not talking about bycatch here, but yeah, no, the Herps Alive, they do amazing work there, and
Absolutely. Yeah.
the
I
the
was impressed.
it's really interesting because the first time I ever went there, uh, my son and I went to a little pet shop down the road, mostly a fish shop. But guess what they were selling? Little baby Cumberland sliders. And they
Wow.
probably had 30 of them in a tank for $50. And I'm like, yeah, I don't like to spend any money at pet stores that sell baby turtles. It's just not a good idea. And the
Yeah.
next stop was my first visit to Herps Alive. And literally, they have dozens and dozens of full-grown adult painted or red-eared sliders there. So
Yeah.
that was tough. That was really tough to see. You like see the
Yeah.
problem, the start of the problem, and the end of the problem within a mile and a half.
Yeah. He showed me the back room with all the red ears, and he said he can't do anything with them.
Yeah,
It's just a
yeah,
whole room full of tubs and red ears.
yeah. It's he actually has to close to turtles. Well, that's very cool. And then of course you visited Matthew.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I appreciate all of the people that let me visit their backyards: Anthony Pierleone, Chris Leone, Matthew, Wayne Hill, a lot of people, Cameron Lamb, all those people showed me their turtles in their backyards. And of course, I'm going to see more stuff in people's backyards than I do at any zoo or aquarium. So it's much appreciated to see that. It's actually thrilling to see the private collections of people that really put a lot of effort into this and care so much about these animals. So yeah, get great shots
Texas
from there too.
Texas State Tortoises asks, what was the name of the one in Brownsville?
The Gladys Porter Zoo.
Gladys Porter Zoo. They're pretty famous for producing radiated tortoises, if memory
They
serves.
have a lot of galops.
Okay, yeah,
They have
galops.
some radiators. Yeah, they're a big galop place.
The radiateds that we have at the Cleveland Botanical Garden, I believe, originated at the Gladys Porter. But yeah, also galops too.
Dawson loves radiated and galop, so that sounds good for him.
That's cool. Well, Tony, one of the other things that you do, you are an artist. And
Yeah.
and so will you be incorporating any of your art into the guidebook?
No, no, that's a
Really?
separate thing. That's a separate thing. My artwork
kinda-
is paper structure, and it's pieces and pieces of paper, layers and layers and layers of paper, held together with glue, sometimes nuts and bolts, and it's three-dimensional art. I use mat board and various handmade papers and decorative papers. A large
He's
piece
talking
of
it
wood.
down, folks. I've seen his
Yeah.
stuff. It is
It's incredible.
beyond amazing. I mean, incredible work. He's definitely downplaying his abilities for us.
And
Well,
you have prints available on your website.
Hmm.
yeah, the website is going to be going through an upgrade, so it's an older website, so we're working on that.
It was what came first, the love of turtles or love of art?
Although I wouldn't be doing art if it wasn't for turtles. I wouldn't have a camera if it wasn't for turtles. So that is my creative outlet, and that is the focus of my creative outlet. So turtles definitely came first, and I just want to do turtle art. No, no
The
A lot of that
excuses.
about when you. I believe you mentioned it at TTPG, but a lot of that came about when you were in the hospital, correct?
Yeah, some of it came out in a hospital. I did a piece called 81 Squares in Braille, and the art pieces come to my head, and I try to make them real. I have artwork in my head that I have no idea how to make, so I have to figure out how to make it real. I mean, if I'm seeing something, I want to make it so that other people can see it.
Do you mind sharing? Do you mind sharing the piece that you did for the School of the Blind? I don't remember which college it was, but they were blind, and
Yeah,
that's about as real as you can get.
yeah, that's at the Helen Keller National Center. This is a piece that I did mostly from when I was ill in the hospital, and they wanted me to use the little silly putty get my fingers working again. And I said, instead of doing this silly putty, let me just do my artwork. So, got some art, my scissors, and started cutting my papers. And I did most of this piece when I was in the hospital. It's called 81 Squares in Braille. And it's a piece of art that a blind person can see easier than a sighted person because a sighted person would see an optical illusion. How would I do that? So, should I?
If you bring it up on your screen, I'll turn your screen on when I see it up.
Okay, let me just find it.
Yeah, no problem. Matthew, what was it like to have Tony there? Could I got to see him work and sort of work the camera and engage new turtles, but could you describe what your visit was like with Tony?
Nerve-wracking. I mean, he's seen collections all over the country, other countries, and then he's going to come to my backyard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How long
yeah.
did you prepare?
Not as long as I would have.
Okay, let's take a look. I don't see it anymore.
I haven't put it up yet. Am I?
Okay, I saw something for just a second, but whenever you're ready.
Okay, so there's the piece right here. Can you see that?
Yep, we can see it now.
So a normal person who was sighted 8 feet away and they would see this undulating pattern. It's an optical illusion. And then you get a little closer, you can see what it really is. And if you look right on top, there's black and white turtles and tortoises.
Oh.
There's 10 layers on there. So a blind person feeling it would feel the turtles when a sighted person would see the optical illusion. And obviously there's no glass on the piece, so you can touch it. So that be it. And it has 10,000 pieces of paper. And I'm really proud of this because it kept me alive in a hospital bed. It kept me doing stuff. It kept me doing work. And, it took 1.5 years to put this all together. But there it is.
Wow.
There's no way you could put a price on something like that.
Yeah,
And where is that piece now, Tony?
I can use. It's in the Helen Keller National Center in Port Washington, New York.
Wow.
Well, it was. It's got to be filthy by now.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So the artwork is the same as the book work. Is you're collecting and collecting, and I'm cutting and cutting pieces. I tell people that everything can fit in my pockets until I'm ready to put it together, and then the fun part is putting it together. And finishing
The
up.
laborious part too.
The what?
The laborious part too. 10,000 pieces. That is so impressive. It's mind-boggling.
If I tried to do that, like at the end of the day, my fingers would probably like be caked in like tissue paper all over them. I mean, do you use tools to hold the paper?
Oh yeah, I've got dental
Yeah.
tools and magnifying
Yeah.
glasses and stuff. Yeah, sure.
Wow.
Those fine details, you'd have to, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That's
course.
insane.
And I use scissors and X-Actos and things like that. Sometimes I'll rip papers. And you want to see another one?
Yeah.
I can pull up.
So you've made this awesome guidebook, or you're making this awesome guidebook for where we can see these awesome turtles, and we are all appreciative. Where can we see some of your work in person?
I don't really have very many shows. I had a show in New York a couple years back, and it was very popular. And it was so popular that one of my pieces was stolen from the gallery. And so, yeah. And
wow.
In fact, that's a piece that you probably would appreciate if you want me to show that to you.
Were you able to get it back?
Oh, it's gone. No, it's gone. It was called missing, presumed stolen.
I've been to the Gardner Museum in Boston to see the stolen artworks. I mean, you can't see them, but I forget the full name of the museum, but where they had a famous heist. Wow. Several Rembrandts were stolen, and they've in the 80s, and they've never been found. Wow.
Yeah, well, I guess it's kind of cool, but at the same time, the piece I made for my daughter,
wow.
I didn't get to. Actually, thankfully, I had it professionally photographed, so we do have the photo.
Have you thought about doing a booth or something at an expo and selling some prints?
No,
having some actual pieces to show.
If I go back to the expo, which I plan to do, it's going to be to sign my book.
Yeah,
nice.
Totally.
Like I said, I've had shows, and those that I've had were very popular. And again, what do you put for a price on something that takes 10 months to do or 5 months to do?
That's what you got to do.
I have a piece that took me 2 years to make. What kind of price do you put on that? So I do commissions, and I do donations. I'll be making a donation to the TTPG. I'll be making a donation to the Iguana Fest.
I'll be making bids.
So, my walls are full. My walls are full of artwork.
Oh, it's.
I wasn't prepared last year.
One more question on the art, Tony. How did you find paper to be your outlet?
Yeah. Again, it just came to my head. I wrote a little story for my daughter when she was, for her first birthday, 1-year-old birthday. And I was living in California, in Berkeley, California, and I worked for the Berkeley School Department, and I drove between 4 different schools. And during my drive, it all just came to me. It's like, do they make tie-dye paper? And so Berkeley has a lot of art stores. So I started visiting art stores and collecting papers. And now I probably have more papers than most art stores, because you buy a big piece and then you use a little teeny piece of that, and the rest is storage. And I started doing art the year before, painting on canvas, acrylics on canvas. In fact, my first art commission was UC Berkeley. I did a piece for their graduate school. And I'm still waiting for this other thing to load on my computer here. But after that, I just switched over to doing mostly papers. I like doing papers. I can use both my hands. I felt that if you're painting, like Matt Patterson is an amazing painter. If you're painting, you have to be on your game all the time. But if you're doing paperwork, there's always stuff that needs to be cut out. So you don't have to be on your game to cut out scales or circles or fingernails or whatever. Again, like I said, it all happens, the magic happens at the end when you get to put it all together. So I could do a lot of work while I'm sitting around talking to people, while I'm watching TV, and, get around the table like that. I could do artwork, I could cut papers and so forth. So for me, it's a little easier than to paint.
Fantastic. It's absolutely amazing. If you Google Tony Monahan and art turtle work, you'll be able to find his website. Bottom line, when I looked at your work, it just made me feel good. That was the overwhelming feeling that I got, and in particular, I think my favorite. I don't remember if there's one or two, but the leatherback, the baby or the small leatherback turtles, that particularly just resonated with me.
Oh yeah,
Mine's this.
Well, I have a good story with that one. I had one. So they're in a circle, right?
Yes.
That's called Moon Dance, and I made another one called Sun Dance with painted turtles around the sun, and that was leatherbacks around the moon. And I ordered 2 frames, one gold and one silver. And when I went to pick up the frames, she gave me 2 silvers. And I said, I ordered 1 gold and 1 silver. So she just gave me the extra frame. So I'll show you a piece that I made with that extra frame. And if you want to share the screen, I'll pop this one up. It's called My Drive. You just see that?
It's we can see it. The screen that I'm seeing, I'm not seeing the full screen, but go to Tony's website. This work, the colors.
This piece is on the website. That's what I was saying.
The feelings, and just the craftsmanship is quite stunning. So.
This is the one that you were looking at. That's the Moon Dance.
Yeah. I just love that one. There's just something special.
And the paper that I use for the arms, that's a Japanese paper. It's fabulous paper. I just loved it when I saw it.
So Tony, it's incredible. You've done a lot of amazing things in your life, a lot of different things surrounding turtles. And, you guys just were together at Daytona, and that's a big turtle event. Did any turtle events make the guidebook?
I'm thinking about, I'm not sure. I really am conflicted because the premise of the book is if you really like turtles, don't go into the wild and take them from nature. Now, a generation ago, we all had these field guides, and nature lovers, young and old, would go into figure out where the wildlife was from the field guide and go into nature. And a lot of times we would take them from the ponds and the woods and so forth. And so this is kind of an anti-field guide, and I want to keep it. If you really love turtles, these are all the places you can go to see them. These are all the organizations you can belong to. If you really want a turtle, there's rescue organizations you can adopt. And I also want to include a handful of reputable breeders. The breeders that are not just going to sell it to anybody. So the problem I have with, as much as I love the expos, anybody can come and buy a baby turtle, and that kind of defeats the purpose of the book. So,
Yeah.
And I also have a chapter on turtles and social media, including a section on podcasts, YouTube channels, and so forth.
Cool.
Facebook groups and so forth.
Like Two Turtle Tom and.
Exactly. Yeah, you're in. So
Thank you.
I really want to kind of stick with that theme.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say, hey, we have problems with turtles going extinct. We have problems with, too many red ears and things like that. And then say, hey, these are all the reptile expos. You can get the turtles.
Yeah.
And when you're sick of them, you can put them in the pond.
Well, and
so
this is a book that you might buy for your son or daughter that asks for a pet turtle.
right.
And instead, you plan a bunch of trips across the country to see turtles
Really cool.
rather than buy one.
Yeah, it's going to be like National Geographic size. So you can throw it in your suitcase. It's going to be a paperback. I'm sure Russ will make a couple hardcovers, but for primarily paperback. And it's a travel guide book.
Wow. Are you excited, Matthew?
I have been waiting since I first heard about this. So Tony was the keynote speaker last year at TTPG, and yeah, it's been having my mind wander all over the place. Like what's the best thing that's going to be close? Like that's what I'm most interested in. Like what things are in the Midwest that are within an easy drive from me, and I'll be able to open it up and I'll be able to find a couple cool places, and then some weekend trips with the kids. I mean, to me, that's one of the coolest things I can get, right? And my kids love zoos, so I think it's a win-win for everybody. And it's the same, like you were mentioning earlier, with you can go and herp and trudge through the mud, and you may see something, you may not see something. You're gonna see something. You go there. There's 5 species at least at all of these places, so you're gonna see something.
Right. Yeah. And I went to 23
Even
states.
if they're hiding that.
23 states.
Just this summer.
Just this summer. Wow.
Just this summer.
Wow.
Yeah.
How many rental cars have you had?
A lot. I've had, I won't even get into the travel horror type stories, but I managed to work it all out. I got to be really good at organizing travel, and down to a T. I have everything written out, and I know where I'm going, when I'm going.
Didn't you say
it usually works out?
You only buy one-way tickets now?
A lot of times I'll just get one ways. Like when I saw you, I went to St. Louis on a one way, and then I drove to. I had to go to Scoville. Scoville Zoo is the one place that was kind of in the middle. I couldn't get to. I tried 3 different times to get there, but it was always like 3 hours out of the way. When I was in Indiana, I was down in Evansville, Indiana. I thought that I was like, okay, well, I can drive up and stay over and go to Scoville. Opens at 9:30. And then I've got a 1 o'clock flight. And it's a 3-hour drive to Indianapolis from there. And then I was going to do it. Then I realized that you cross the state line and you lose an hour. So you're going from Central
Am I
Time to
dead?
Eastern Time. So I couldn't do it. I would never make the flight. So the second time I tried, it was just a lot of stops, and I was going from Chicago to Iowa to Nebraska to Kansas, and again, it was just 3 hours out of the way. And I knew they didn't have a lot of turtles, but I made a point to get there. I was like, I'm going to go. I'm just going to make a trip and go to Scoville, and I did. And I met the keeper who was very nice, and her name was Indy, and she brought out all the tortoises so I can take photos, and she let me in to see the Aldabra. And they only had 6 species, but it was a wonderful. I mean, I enjoyed myself tremendously. It was a beautiful little zoo, and I'm really happy I went because I would be, thinking about, man, I wish I would have got to that one extra place that.
Be haunting
So,
you.
and there's other places I went to that just didn't have what I was looking for.
This is brilliant because you can absolutely add on to this. The more things that come about, and more zoos get different animals, that bumps them up.
Yeah,
Michael, I will beat you, Michael. That's my lullaby.
There's a friendly competition going on in the chat to see who will be able to go to the most sites in Tony's book. So
I think first to 50 gets their choice of whatever hatchling that between Michael and I that the other hatches.
I kind of envisioned some kids from Asia making the pilgrimage.
yeah, totally.
Well, I'm not a rich man, so I'm not.
Neither mind.
Well, Tony, thank you so much. If you could tell us everything that we need to know to be, amongst the first people to get the book, what do we need to know? Where do we look? What are all those details?
Where are the announcements?
Well, I'm just right now gathering the information to send over to Russ. We're going to try to get the bulk of this done in September. So right now, I have my site pages and I'm going through my photos. And so right now, today I was working on my number. There's going to be one main photo per site. So that's going to be the biggest picture on the page. And it's a juggling act. I have to make sure that I don't have 20 Aldabra pictures or, radiated pictures or so forth. So I have to go through my sites, and right now I'm just doing my number 1 photos. Today I did 55 sites, and I've only have 1 duplicate so far. So that's okay. But after 150 or so, I'm sure I'll have some duplicates.
Yeah.
But
and so we'll keep you updated. We'll let everyone know on social when it's ready and when you can get yourself a copy.
We might have a better idea at the TTPG in
Absolutely.
November where we are at this point. I'm gonna start sending him the site pages. I have settled on 4 categories: zoos, aquariums, nature centers, and stranger places. Those are those places that are not really categorized.
Oh, that's cool.
Like the University of Texas Turtle Pond, which is right in the middle of their campus. So
that's fun.
Weird places like that. Like Robert is here, fruit stand in Florida, where that story? 6-year-old Robert in 1959 went to sell his father's cucumbers on the corner. He spent all day and nobody bought a single cucumber. So the next day, his father helped him out. He spray painted on a plywood board, "Robert is here." And he sold all the cucumbers, and he kept going out to the corner and selling. By the time he was 9 years old, he was able to hire someone else to do it while he was in school. And by the time he was 14, he bought the land on the corner, and now sits the world famous Robert is here exotic fruit stand and farm. And Robert has a turtle pond right behind his store, and he's got a little petting zoo with sulcatas and redfoots and some gopher tortoises. So once you go in and buy your fruits and vegetables, you can go behind the store and check out the turtles and tortoises.
And feed the rest.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, Tony, thank you so much. Thank you
Yeah.
for everyone. Thank you everyone in the chat tonight. Matthew, thank you for joining me. It was great to see everyone again and talk to everybody again. Next week,
My pleasure.
we are going to bring Steve Enders on.
Nice.
So he's going to be next. So Tony, thank you so much. Best of luck
My
to
pleasure.
finishing up, and we'll
you.
keep everyone updated when it's ready. And we gotta buy out the first printing. We gotta
Let's do it.
buy as many of these for your friends and family as they travel around the country and they want to learn more about what we are all doing and why, and see how awesome turtles are. This is a book for everybody. This is a book for people that just love turtles, and that's everyone. Everyone loves turtles.
Yeah.
For sure.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. We'll see you
Thanks.
next time.